Hey guys, having a stupid thought, which is kind of par for my particular course here lately. My carpet is still damp. Once or twice a year, I'll get damp carpet down here around the pool table, like when we have like biblical level flooding, which is what happened Friday. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I was talking about was, well, playing with all my cues, off and on, trying to kind of figure out which one's best for me. And uh, today I'm shooting with, this is my Rundy Sean, and this is the only one that I have. I picked 8 cues that are like real contenders for me. This is the only one that has a low squirt shaft on it. So hitting some balls with it, of course, have to adjust a little bit because everything else is pretty squirty. Well, certainly compared to this. And stupid thought that I had was back a million years ago when I first started playing tennis and was decent out. I guess I was improving pretty rapidly, and I went with coach to get a racket. I wanted to get a better racket than the one I had, which was just the club racket, a club racket. And the one that I wanted, coach like, no, you're not ready for that, Dave. Um, and I thought he meant I'm not good enough for that, which he's almost certainly correct. But when I asked him that, that's not what he was talking about. He was talking about how a lot of the beginner level rackets would, I guess, have a bigger margin of error and kind of absorb some of the mistakes that could be made. And the much better rackets, like the professional level stuff, they would do what you told the ball to do. So it wasn't that. No, it was that I was quite simply wasn't accurate enough and precise enough to be able to handle a racket like that. Yeah, I mean, he was absolutely correct. I have no doubt of that. So I got a cue more, or a racket more, more in line with my abilities at the time. So I don't think I had the shot. Speaking with this cue today, I was just wondering if the same thing is happening. Specifically, I was wondering if a low squirt shaft like this one is kind of doing the same thing as the beginner level tennis rackets, kind of absorbing some of the errors, giving a bigger margin for error. And it certainly gives a bigger margin for error just in the fact that it squirts less. So if I hit off to the right more than I wanted, it's not going to be as big of a deviation as it would with one of my higher squirt cues. And so, yeah, at least in that regard, a low squirt shaft will absorb some of the errors, make them less glaring, I guess. I found that kind of interesting, and I'm absolutely 100% not saying that if you're a good player, you can't have a low squirt shaft anymore. Because guess what? Yeah, almost all the top players have a low squirt shaft. I think what I'm getting at is that unlike in tennis, where there's a progression of rackets being more and more precise, more and more firm, whatever, and to get the high to be able to play well with a high end tennis racket, you kind of have to be a really good player. But with pool, beginner can start out with something like this. Maybe as he gets better, gets some money, whatever, buy something more expensive, custom cue, whatever. They can end up going back to a low squirt shaft. Whereas you never see a top tennis player go back to just using a house bracket. Never see that. Well, I've never seen that. Okay, so I'm having a problem with this 14 if you guys didn't notice. So I was just thinking about that. And another thing I was thinking about was I know I've had a couple of rant videos about the promoters mainly. They want everything to be tough. They want to tighten the pockets up. They want 10-foot tables in a lot of cases. They want it to be tough. These are the best players in the world. They ought to be able to handle that. And this got me wondering, how come these promoters, how come they're not bitching about low squirt shafts? Best player in the world ought to be able to play with a broomstick. Why don't you make them play with a broomstick? Instead of basically forcing tighter equipment, I guess it's going to affect everybody in the tournament, no matter what level they're at. Why don't you let somebody like me play with whatever I want? But if I have to play Federer, I don't know what the hell. Federer's got to play with a broomstick with no tip and no chalk and blindfolded. He's best player in the world. He'll be able to handle that. Let's do that for him. Let's do that. Even the shit out that way. Yay. Obviously, they don't do that. It would be funny. It'd be funny for a while until people started sandbagging to make sure they never quite got to that broomstick level. They suck just enough. They would dump just often enough that they could stay at the cue stick level, not have to start with a broomstick. That's what I saw happen for years and years and years and years and years in the league. And I have no reason to think it would be different just because we're talking about professional players. Of course, ego would come into play a little bit. But, I mean, professional players, kind of by definition, make their living or a good chunk of their living from playing pool. So they would want to maximize net income more than they would want to maximize their egos, I think. It would be funny though. I wonder if I could beat. No way. If Federer came down here with a broomstick and no tip and no chalk, he'd still kick my ass. Now, if he had to be blindfolded in those circumstances, I might have a chance if he spots me a game or 2 games, maybe. Why they don't? Maybe they just haven't thought of it yet. I hope I'm not giving them any ideas. But we got to have tough equipment. The good players, they can handle the tough equipment. They're great. They're the best in the world. Yet, a lot of those good players, best in the world, are playing with like the most high-tech shafts and shit that makes the game easier for them. In my opinion, a low squirt shaft is easier to play with, to make balls with, than something that squirts a lot. I don't think I'm wrong about that, but I have not surveyed the entire world. And there are definitely going to be some things that are going to be easier with a more solid hitting cue. Getting some shape drawn back, long distance and stuff like that. But those guys, the best players in the world, they can do it anyway. It's kind of annoying that I missed that the first time around. Ah, I know you guys don't give a shit about me making stupid excuses. But every time I take a step, it sloshes. My carpet sloshes a little bit under my feet. It's not like I'm walking around in ankle deep water, but my carpet is damp. And when I take a step, I can tell that it's damp. And that's distracting me. That's giving me split brain syndrome. Well, it's not giving me split brain syndrome. It's just distracting me. But that's fine. I have to work on my distractions, right? I have a table in my basement. I can work on stuff. I think I'm done with today's ranting stuff. As soon as I make this ball, I don't know. I'm gonna digress for a second here. I watched several years ago, shit, 13 years ago. I took some banking lessons from Truman Hope, and one of the shots that he had was approximately this shot, and he just kept saying, "Can't miss a shot. You can't miss a shot. You can't miss a shot." And so, of course, just to show him wrong, I probably missed it 500 times in a row. And then I finally made it. But for a shot that you, well, Truman would say you can't miss it. You can't miss this shot. You can't miss the shot. But I tell you what, I did miss the shot a lot, just like that. That's what's supposed to happen. What was happening was the ball would hit here, the ball would hit here, ball probably hit here 3 times. It was just random. Where's my remote? There it is. There it is. That's my ranting for the night. I'm not going to stand up here and do a summary because YouTube doesn't like that, according to that one dude that says you're not supposed to say bye guys, but I'm going to say bye guys anyway. Bye guys.